Ready, set, boom. We're set. We are ready. Let's get rid of the music. And let's tune in a little bit over here. Whoop. There we go. We're all set. Make it work that way. Hey, so good afternoon to you. It is beginning of November. Unbelievable. Unbelievable area. I think I say that way too much here, but definitely a fast year. A lot of things on the horizon. All that stuff is super good. As you know, yesterday I had a guest on. That was great. Hillary joined me and got a little bit of comments from her too, about some of the things that I know that I would like to kind of improve on. And one of them would be not having to look at the screen over here when I go live. So I'm trying to figure out a way to do that where I don't interfere with this. And that's one of the things I'd like to kind of work on here. There we go. So I don't know if this is going to interfere with it, and it probably would. But can I actually watch the guest from here? Then no, there's a delay. Hey, there we go. There's a delay. So that doesn't really work out. So I want to work that through, make it happen. And thank you for being here, part of Top of Mind Experiment Day. And maybe that's the big message as this goes. It's like how do you make this whole thing work for you when you're trying to do something new? How much you share, not share, as things go along. Yeah, and I do believe that sharing quite a bit actually helps. It's definitely, you don't want to continually say, oh, I don't know. That's not too good. It doesn't add to your credibility. It's to your relatability, but perhaps not to your credibility. So there's that go. All right. So like I said, I wanted to really talk about top of mind kind of things. And that is certainly it. I know I've been definitely behind in some of the photos and things like that. So that's something I definitely wanted to kind of scoot through over here. I did not edit anything. I haven't even reviewed anything, so I'm not too sure this is a great idea. But had some incredible opportunities this past year to go and meet with some folks. Let's see if I got a couple of photos to kind of bring that out over here for that one. This is at Allendale. I don't know if this is really going to work out terribly well. No, it's probably not. Got too many photos. There is one I definitely want to post. And sorry, I feel like today's broadcast is brought to you by me, for me, and all the rest of that kind of stuff. So let's kind of skip that along as that kind of happens. Let's see, share screen. Can I do this? Oh yeah, I can do that. Window. Yeah, let's go there. Let's shrink this up. All right, so now you're looking at the stuff that I got over here. Let's move everybody over, and we'll go through a couple of these things. This was at the Crohn's and Colitis Walk. So I was given the presentation that they wanted to take a picture of the crowd, and there is the crowd. Everybody was out there. It was that was a great day, and thank you very much for helping to support that one. Great learning experience on that. But I tell you where you should say that have a learning moment or not. Obviously, you're sitting there with the microphone, you've got the lectern, you're up on the podium and all the rest of that stuff. You're on the stage. You're not going to share your like, hey, I've never done this stuff before or that kind of thing. That's all about relatability, when you're doing that. The conversation I had with the folks that were part of the event planning team, was the fact that reading a script and doing that was a little bit different than what I normally do because I like making that eye contact over here. So that was kind of fun. But it looks like we got a decent reaction on that one because they knew I was going to take their photo. So I got a couple of smiling faces as that as that went along. Let's see, got a whole bunch of racing photos in there too. Let me just pick one out here for from Allendale. This was Allendale Machinery Day, Allendale Education Day, and Allendale is one of the distributors for Haas. And you got that. You can see their logo a little bit behind this gentleman. But Haas, they had an education day in there. Took some photos, some good, some maybe not as good as they could be. This guy was wild. This is the principal of one of the high schools up in Westchester County. On fire, absolutely on fire. I could see how his students love him, and that really goes into that relatable thing. And he had an interesting conversation that he did, which really brings to that point of sharing your challenges. Because he mentioned about the program, and he's got the machinery program up at the school there, and he shared the whole idea of how important it is, but he really wanted to talk about it from within and really experience the program. So he did, and he wound up having to take a few tests over again. And so he spoke about that whole thing. But is that weakness? Is that a weak? Is that showing you're weak? Is that showing you're vulnerable? Is that showing that you're real? Hmm. I think it's much more in the showing that it is that you're real when you're doing something like that. So that really became, I think, a very important lesson, and it was well received amongst the group over there that were at the machinery place to learn about what was going on, what Allendale does, what Haas does, and what the his school is doing in order to promote the idea of vocational programs and having students participate in these vocational programs at a very early age, and they're talking, the high school, junior maybe, but really the high school years, which is great, just absolutely great stuff. I think it's um, like a broken record. Maybe I'm repeating myself too much. It's definitely time to have guests on, but that without a doubt is an important factor in so many places. Gosh, it's just been unbelievable. So I started following Haas Formula One, and they got positions open. Allendale positions open, right? Machinery, all this kind of stuff. Many positions, and I can tell you, many positions that they posted, along with many other companies, have got not a thing to do with actually building something. It's understanding it, what's going on there. On the sales side, you need to understand what these machines do. You need to understand the capabilities. You need to be able to explain the intricacies of the whole thing. But many of these places that we run across are also looking for accountants. They're looking for people that work in the office side of it, not in the production and not even in the sales. You really have to know something if you're in sales. I mean, don't no ifs, ands, and buts about that. But there's a lot of other positions inside of these companies that, you know, it's not. It's people skills, it's HR departments, accounting, et cetera, et cetera. So even if you had an interest in something in an industry, but you're not good enough to actually work the product or even sell the product, the service in that industry, but you want to be a part of it, there's always ways to do things. Always ways to do things. So it's a matter of figuring out. And this is where you come in. If we're able to show these students in these high schools, maybe even younger, different ways in order to be involved in something where it's highlighting their own skills and their own desires and interest and blending the two together, it becomes just phenomenal stuff. And you get very motivated employees, and it's an incredible win. As that it's just an incredible win. It's an incredible win for everybody. You got your sons and daughters. They're going to now going to go to school, high school, with more of a purpose, which means they're more engaged, which means less outside distractions. Or if those other things come up, it means less to them because they're focused on the goal. There's stories to be told on that one. And then going to college, you're not going to college. You're going to trade school or going right to work, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because the success level of all of these things, it, it's a different path for different people. The income potential is phenomenal no matter what it is that you do, as long as you're pursuing something that's career minded, not just a job, but career minded. Had some conversations yesterday with people that they started working these jobs and just continue to grow, and then they became careers. Very doing great with those careers. Doing great with those careers, and I don't understand why we don't spend more time on that. We hear the success stories of people going into sports. Oh, he played golf, when she was 6 years old, or these soccer, always had an eye for baseball, was able to hit that ball even at a young age. Even T-ball, we talk about it, and those are unbelievable. The success stories that come out of that from a sports-minded thing are huge. So why not in business? Why are we not looking for those stories more and more? That would be something to do. Those would be stories to tell instead of all this other stuff that's going on. Political environment. We're gonna really talk top of mind. Gosh, what is it? November 3rd. It's got midterm elections coming up in another week. Next week, we're less than a week away. For those things. God, kind of can't wait for it to be over. Let's get the people in that should be in as our newly elected officials or returning elected officials, depending upon races and whatever. And I guess your political beliefs, but man, I really wish that we would drop these political beliefs all over the place and really get down to who is it that can really best serve our communities, regardless of titles and labels, not titles, but regardless of labels, the rest of that stuff, and start doing that. It's just too much. You watch these commercials, it's just like it's attack or attack, and even the ones that are not attacking. Then you get people that don't believe whatever it was that was said by the other person. It's all a setup. It's all fake. It's all this, that, and the other thing. It's like, God, man, when are we going to get back to what really, really should be? And then building careers, building up our students, not letting them see. We're talking about leading by example. This is some leading by example we got going on right now. What do? Nobody believes the other side. Everybody's yelling at the other side. They're fighting, violence. Man, violence has picked up quite a bit. Something needs to be done about that. And I'm not even talking about the bail reform, stuff like that. I'm talking about some of the other things that are going on, where you got elected officials that on all sides got to worry about personal safety. Personal safety. I mean, really, I thought that only happened back in like the Aaron Burr days, and that was going on. And, it's everyday stuff that's happening, not some crazy fanatic stuff. It's like, it just seems to be more and more. I don't want to say everyday people. I got to throw them into the crazy fanatic, world. If you're looking to do that. And again, this is on either side of the coin here, as that goes, but it's just like, it's too much. It's too much. All this stuff is too much. We even talk about prison reform or and that kind of thing. Should there be? Yeah. We have more prisoners in the United States than all over. Recidivism rate, huge. What is really going on inside the prisons, right? Really, what is going on? Are there people that are in there that shouldn't be in there? Are there people in there that shouldn't be let out of there? Probably. Could talk about a whole bunch of other things, too. But we're not talking about it. Nobody's talking. No, that's not actually correct. Maybe we're talking about it, but we're not talking about solutions to it. The border and all the rest of this stuff. Who's talking about solutions? Real solutions. Oh, maybe it's going on behind closed doors. I hope so. I hope something's going on behind closed doors. Otherwise, we're going to get done with the elections next week. And then, another 2 years, we get the presidential election coming up, which means another year, give or take. You're going to have people running for president and that whole thing, and then the primaries and the rest of it. It never ends. It never ends. So are we constantly just running for office and just constantly bickering over that thing? When are we going to get down to actually fixing something, to actually doing something? That's where I get frustrated with all of this, with all of that stuff. I'm just looking for a word, you know. That's where I get, just done with all of that. It's like, okay, it's time to do something. It's time to really, truly do something. And that now turns to me and you and all of those people that surround you that kind of really get it. You know, let's work. Let's work together here. You know, let's work together to help our students out, help them see the possibilities. Let's work together to get these careers going with a lot of these students. Let's work together. Mental health issues is another thing too, to give people something to really strive for. Really strive for. Yeah, yesterday I brought this up too. It's like there are different things that happen in our lives that will possibly derail us from goals. But what's the goal in the first place? And if it's not a strong goal, if it's not something that you really want to see happen, everything else is a distraction. It just is a flat out distraction. I mean, and I'm not talking about we need a break from something. I mean, look, sit there, you work all day, you go outside, go for a walk, go for a run. I rake leaves every once in a while, right? Just to clear the head, do something a little bit different, that kind of thing. Maybe time to think. Ooh, maybe we can call it meditate and stuff like that. Those kinds of things just, are. But if you can't find the effort to get back into it again, then whatever you were working on is meaningless to you. When do we get back to that? When do we get back to that? When do we get back to where John Kennedy saying, hey, we need to put a man on the moon? What a crazy thought that was at the time. But it was done. Took a while, but it was done. The rest of that stuff, it was done. I mean, what I find fascinating, I looked, the Civil War was horrendous, or just absolutely horrendous, you know. But bringing that country together again, sure, there was a lot of folks. I wonder how that actually happened, how it really happened. But eventually, more people pulled together to make that work. And I know we're still struggling with big time, with some issues that probably a little linger from that whole thing. When do we get past that? When do we get past so many of these things? Man, we are a nation. Somebody put it right. It's like, oh, America, blah, 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 and all these comments, the whole thing. But man, people want to come here. People want to come here. And boy, if nothing else has been proven, this is the land that anybody can do anything, without a doubt. Anybody can do anything. You run for all kinds of offices. You can do all kinds of things. You got one picture after another about how all these massive businesses got started in garages. Garages. Seems like you're not going to be successful unless you take a picture of yourself sitting in a broken down desk in a garage, and then go from there. Go get that photo. Maybe you got to go back in time a little bit. Take a desk, throw it in the garage, take a photo. It's like, oh yeah, I started in the garage. I started in the garage. I started in high school. I started with an idea. I started with a problem I had to work through. I started with the motivation to get something done. Anything can happen here. We do have the freedom to do so many things. People want to be here in order to do that. Why are we not helping each other along for your own reasons. And it's a win for everybody to move forward, to get this stuff done. Again, talk about giving paying back the some of these student loans, or the $10,000 or 20, depending upon situations, stuff like that. It's like, okay, all well and good, or it was terrible because if somebody didn't take out a student loan, it's like, wait, well, what about me? Or some of the folks that didn't go to college in the first place, they just went right to work. For about that, maybe they should get a $10,000 bonus. Or if you've gone in the auto industry, some of these folks, in repairs, you got to buy your own tools. Oh, well, it should be reimbursed there. It's like, so there's a whole bunch of like problematic issues that go along with that whole thing. Was it a solution? Is it ever really a solution to just throw money at something and then just see what happens? And it's just no, I don't think so. I don't think just throwing money at something and then just walking away and not taking a look at what caused it in the first place, or what could be done in order to avoid having to just throw money again at something in the future. I think a lot of it really starts with having some sort of goal, having some sort of reason, having some sort of purpose for being here. Man, that's the golden question, isn't it? Why are we here? Why are we here? Take this into the religious world if you wish. All right, why are we here? We're waiting for something to happen by somebody to come down and, rebuild things, save us, and the rest of that stuff. Is like, okay, but waiting, and just waiting. I don't think that's really the answer. And I don't think that's actually what's professed with many of these religions either. It's about going out and doing things and making it, a better place, treating each other the way that we should be treated. I used to have that phone not ring in the middle of these things. Not sure what happened there, but we'll have to turn that ringer off. Make that a little bit better place and go figure out how to do this all a little bit, nicer. Again, this way I don't have to turn, look at the camera. See how much time is left, on that one. But if everybody had an answer to that thing, answer to that question, why are we here? And what is it that we could do on a going forward basis in order to help things out? I don't know why we're not even answering that phone. There it is. And if we could all answer that question for ourselves, what are we doing? What are we doing each and every day? What are we doing on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual basis? Look, we do that with businesses, right? Talk about business plans, talk about daily worksheets. If you're trying to get healthier, or if you're trying to get healthier, you're keeping track of your food, you're doing that whole thing, you're working towards something. And the more you can visualize it, vision boards, if you want to, that's another little tool in there, the better it is. What about a vision board for life? What is it? What is it that we really want to grow to? All right, what is it? Onto a couple of groups, right? Talked about the midlife crisis. We'll end on this note, midlife crisis note. How's that for a positive note? Midlife crisis. I wonder from there. I'm 60. I don't know. That gets me to 120. I don't know. Maybe I missed my mark on that one. I don't know. Maybe it should have happened a couple of years ago. Maybe I'll live to 120. Who knows? But talk about that. I don't know. There seems to be like the turning point there, that midlife crisis thing. Oh, yeah. Oh, what didn't I do? What is it that's still on my bucket list? What is it, those things that I'd like to accomplish this way? When we get down to that deathbed thing, you don't want to have any regrets. Don't want to have any regrets. Why do we wait so long? If we're waiting on a deathbed and doing it, I mean, it's, that ain't happening. That's too long. Midlife crisis? Well, or midlife. Forget the crisis word. Midlife. Look, there are certain things we can't do when we're 20 that maybe we can do when we're 50 or 60. Get a little bit more money, maybe. Got a little bit more time. Maybe time has become more important than money at that point. But why do we wait so long to go figure that out? Why? It's not to put the pressure on the students. And therein lies, I think, the challenge with that one. But giving them the opportunities to pursue their thing, whatever their thing is, that would be great. Having them think about what it is, that would be great. And then having a society that fosters that creativity, reinforces the idea that you can do different things, and again, giving them the tools to do it. That's, I think, the biggest thing that we're lacking. The biggest thing that we're lacking. Maybe schools are too test happy. And it's just got to, got to get tested, got to get tested, got to get tested. And then all the teachers are doing is, preparing them for tests, because then the teachers got graded, on how their students did. So they need the students to do well this way they do all right. Is that too much? I'm not in the school system. I couldn't tell you if that's too much. And I don't have anybody in the school system right now, so I couldn't tell you that's too much. But I wonder, is that too much? Is there not enough of these after-school programs or programs inside of the school that allow the students to learn about different things? And I know many of you have been vocal about how students need to learn about real-life stuff. Real-life stuff. How to balance a checkbook. What is a mortgage? Things like that. Credit cards. A lot of you are vocal about it. A lot of you banks I know have been serious about helping the students learn that stuff. I really commend you on that one. I think that's great. It's not just about tests. It's about going out and having field day trips. It's about bringing businesses into the schools. It's about bringing some of the students out to these business events. That's what I think it's all about. And then continuing to foster that whole thing. That's really what I think it's about. Then somebody goes to college and takes on $100,000 or $200,000 worth of debt, but in a career that makes sense with that $100,000 or whatever amount of debt, that makes sense. To take on $100,000 worth of debt or more, and then work a job that's not what they really wanted to do, where there's no shot about paying back that money in any realistic amount of time, and having that student debt last them for another 10, 15, 20 years, maybe more, that makes no sense. That makes no sense. So if you're voting, and you should vote. And if you don't vote, then don't tell me you whatever. You have no right to complain about anything. And I don't care where you vote, what you do, anything like that. That's got nothing for nothing. But, and even if you don't, you shouldn't talk about it. But you want to know something? It's the local stuff that really matters. It's what you and I do that I think that'll really make a difference in so many different things. So go out there and do it. And if you're vulnerable and you make mistakes along the way, hey, you know what? So be it. It'll add to your credibility at some point in time, and it'll add to your ability to relate to somebody right then and there in that moment. And that, I think, is something that could go on forever. And people remember that forever, too. So share your dreams with people and help these students go out there and figure out what they want to do. Hey, Doug, afternoon to you. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great day. Go out there and vote next week. Enjoy the weather if it's good in your area. And if you're at that SEMA conference out in Vegas, have yourself a darn good time and take photos, man. Wild stuff out there. Wild stuff. All right, stay tuned. Much more to happen. Much more on the way. All right, remember, you got to do what you do, and that is to speak well, speak often, and live inspired. And we're going to leave with the music here.